Front derailleur, bottom bracket, front cranks. That's right. It's time to talk about that mid portion of the drivetrain. Let's get on topic. Hey everybody, it's Thomas with Get Out Arizona, and it's trick to rock a rhyme that's right on time. It's tricky.
Tricky?
Tricky.
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 Anyways, I'm here with my co-host, Brandon Van Looven. Brandon, how the hell are you today?
Good morning.
Hey, you can tell that we've been drinking already. Did you put cocaine in the coffee this morning?
No.
No?
We're just naturally high.
We're naturally high, okay. Anyways, so this is part 3 of our series on drivetrains and drivetrain maintenance, and today we are going to be talking about the mid portion of your drivetrain, which consists of a front derailleur on some bikes, not all bikes, obviously a crankset, and a bottom bracket. Brandon, let's talk about this exciting stuff. What do people need to know, first of all, what do people need to know about these 3 main components of the drivetrain?
They are very susceptible to wearing out quickly if they're not maintained correctly.
Okay.
And I want to do a few tips to, raise awareness of what we need to be looking out for as far as when to bring it to the bike shop, what you can do at home.
Right. Awareness. Bottom brackets matter. Anyways, so obviously with the front derailleurs, we know that there's either the mechanical front derailleur or a wireless front derailleur, a la SRAM Access or Shimano DTAP.
Yep.
But cranks, there's a couple different styles. Bottom brackets, we
Lots of
lightly
different styles,
touched.
yeah.
So let's start there, and then we'll move over to the bike.
Okay, fantastic. Well, the thing about the bottom bracket is it's a fairly fragile piece, and luckily these days, they're fairly inexpensive as well.
Right.
So as they go bad, we end up just tossing them, putting new ones in. But there are a few types, and when we look at these from the most basic one, from the open ball,
I remember those.
that you can adjust. This is for a single speed cruiser type, one-piece crank, we should say. It's very susceptible to corrosion and contamination mostly, and a lot of that is people's faults. Because there's not a sealed bearing in here, you can get a lot of dirt, a lot of grime inside these guys. Washing them off with a high pressure water hose or high pressure setting on the hose will actually push contaminants into this kind of system.
Deeper into it.
And then pull all the grease out. Same with any of these guys. Even though we're looking at a modern bottom bracket, this was a press fit one for a SRAM. Even though this same thing is inside here, sealed up, it's still not totally free of any of the elements. We can still push past these seals and quickly ruin them. So not using high pressure is probably the biggest thing when cleaning our bikes. If we can still just use that dry rag and just take the dust off,
or
that's
just don't
great.
clean them, like me. Wear it as a badge of honor, guys. No, I'm joking. Still maintenance the parts that need to be maintenance. Yeah,
So doing that and keeping the bearings pristine is a great way to keep them in good service.
Okay.
But also there's a couple things that we can look at as well when we're inspecting the bike. If I look at this system right here, which is the Holotech.
Right.
We talked about this a little bit in the last segment, where everything is kind of contained and the bearing sits on like this with the bottom bracket. There is an opportunity for these things to come loose. We have pinch bolts, and we have the main bolt right here for the crank arm. Should these come loose, what happens? We develop play inside here. That play will destroy these bearings quite quickly.
Right.
And when we move on to the bike, we'll demonstrate how to kind of inspect for that play. But 2 things: don't blast them with water, and inspect for play inside these guys.
Okay.
It's a bottom bracket. They're fairly small. They're, like I always say, they're fairly fragile. They're going to go bad after a couple of years. But if we don't have to replace them prematurely, let's take care of them and keep them around as long as possible.
So now, you know me, I'm a nerd, and on those lonely nights, I fall down the rabbit hole on researching a bunch of different stuff. Is there any advantage, because I've seen some bottom brackets that are fairly expensive. They advertise that it's completely sealed cartridge and they're ceramic bearings, and you're going to improve your resistance. And I get it coming from an engineering standpoint, but that law of diminishing returns, is it really worth spending all that money on a super high-tech bottom bracket, or just going, I'm going to get the $30 replacement that I've always used and just call it good? I mean, what do you recommend for people as far as like a bottom bracket
I
goes?
feel like the majority of the customers will do just fine with a normal bottom bracket, that $30 bottom bracket. It works great.
They're not climbing out Duez or
even
trying to.
So you talk about the diminishing returns. To pay $200 or
Oh yeah, I
or
thought it was
more
completely
for a
ridiculous.
bearing that you're gonna maybe get 1 or 2 watts difference out of.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna notice 1 or 2 watts.
Yeah, I know I won't.
And the bearing itself isn't stronger than this one. It'll go just as fast. So man, if you got tons and tons of money, and you're
Give it to me. Don't waste it on that shit. Send it to me.
If you got tons of money and you're a Watt weenie, do it. That's fine.
Right.
But for me, it is not practical.
Yeah. Okay.
It
And
is
that's
not
what I
practical.
figured. So just remember, guys. Yes, there's no. We're out there to have fun, and though it's cool to dress up your bike and get some flash parts, a little unicorn bell, or maybe it's some.
I'd rather spend my money on a
tassels
unicorn bell than
yeah,
ceramic bearings, to be honest with you.
Granted, I do have a Jones for carbon fiber, and I'm not going to lie about that. Brandon knows this and everything, but just realize that certain things, even though on paper they may say they offer you an advantage, real world application, if you're not going to really notice it, why bother? At that point, invest your money on something that's really going to make a difference, like upgrade a set of wheels or something like that, or a better group that's going to shift smoother, not ratchet out on you or something like that. Well, awesome. Well, hey, let's move on over to the bike and go ahead and show us some maintenance tips there. Yeah, some adjustments maybe on the mechanical derailleur side of it, if people, again, some of the stuff that I think the front derailleur is actually easier than the rear derailleur as far as mechanical adjustments go, but that's just me. And yeah, let's show the people at home what they can look for and what they can properly do to maintain their bike.
Let's go.
All right.
Okay, so now we see the parts that we were describing earlier installed on a bike. And what we want to do at this point now is
be careful not to get your fingers stuck in the chain. Hey, how's it going? But that's not how it happened.
It's still there.
Brandon touched it earlier. Okay, we'll keep going. Sorry, we digress.
So we talked about cleaning it. Once again, if you got to clean this thing, just use some very light pressure. And the bike should be pretty dirty for you to have to use water. So very light pressure in this area. As far as the tightness is concerned, we can feel the tightness, or we can see how tight the crank is by moving the crank arms in the opposite direction that the bearing moves. So if the bearing moves this way, I want to check play opposite direction, so this way on the bike. So at a multiple, or at different parts of the clock, as we like to say, I'm going to check back and forth, and back and forth. Now, depending on which bottom bracket you have, there's a number of ways to tighten them or adjust them, and we should do them should we feel any play in the bottom bracket at that time. Moving up to the derailleur, keep it clean as well. Don't blast it. What I like to do a lot of times is just use a dry rag on here. There's a lot of little pivot points on these guys.
There is.
And
because it's basically a parallelogram is what it is.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't know what a parallelogram is, I will actually leave a link down below to the Khan Academy of Mathematics so you can see and learn about parallelograms. Hey, I love the Khan Academy, dude.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So these little pivots, all these little guys are in bushings, and they are small. So they will be susceptible to corrosion after a while. Things we see, sport drinks, things like that, get it sticky. And there's times when we actually have to free them up because they're so gross. Some people really don't have a choice, and these are these guys that live in the Pacific Northwest where it's salty, it's sandy, it's gross. They ride all year long in the elements, and we got to clean that out with a degreaser, get those guys moving again, and sometimes it doesn't quite come back all the way. But once again, keeping these pivots clean on the parallelogram is great. On the mechanical ones, let's keep an eye on the cables. If the cable gets adjusted multiple times, it does have an opportunity to fray. And sometimes derailleurs come in are just being held on by one thread of the whole cable. So keep an eye on the cable as well for fraying. If it's getting too bad, cable's cheap. Derailleur
Right.
adjustments cheap.
Stretch it.
$10. So.
New housing, new cable, and everything, something
Right,
we alluded
right.
to in a previous episode. So, and Brandon brings up a good point. Again, we're in Arizona. It's a desert climate. It's the Southwest. So a lot of the things that we're talking about are for maintenance in our region.
Yep.
Pacific Southwest, back east, people who ride in the wintertime, they throw salt in the snow and everything like that. You have different conditions that are going to affect your bike differently than here for us in the desert. So we just want to kind of keep that in mind. So
And sweat too. Let me just say, everybody sweats, and sweat also gets on these things. That's why it's every once in a while, just keep it clean. A little degreaser, a little lubrication on there. We'll keep that thing running pretty nice for a while.
Awesome. Well, good. So, guys, there you have it. Pretty simple as far
simple stuff.
As that goes.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Anything else? Are we missing? It almost seems like this was like not a whole lot. I mean, I knew there wasn't a whole lot to it and everything like that, but it seems rather simplistic.
It is. I think the harder part is on our end. Once you've diagnosed that yes, something needs to be done.
Right.
There's, like I said before, there's a number of different ways that each one of these configurations are adjusted.
Right.
So that's up to us or your local bike shop.
Right.
Bring it to us to get it done. If you want to figure out how to do this yourself, there's all kinds of great stuff online to find out how to do these. So,
absolutely.
and it's very simple.
It is.
Just having the right tools is the biggest part.
Now, the reason we're not really talking about either the Shimano DTAP or the SRAM Access or anything like that, it's because there's no cable. Sure, you have your pivot points and there's going to be adjustment and everything like that, but there's a battery. So, if you're using one of those, a wireless option, make sure your battery's charged. Again,
Whoever thought we would have that problem?
right? Make sure the pivot points are free from any type of restriction or elements, anything like that they could cause it, because you're going to experience a very similar type of maintenance aside from battery with the wireless stuff. And again, I know I said with the shifters last week and everything how it's an electronic device, so you kind of have to be careful of that. For the front derailleur, they're very robust. Same with the rear derailleurs for the wireless stuff. They're very robust, so they will take, a rock strike, laying it down and everything like that. But again, it's an electronic device. It's going to have different components, although similar, and some of those components are a bit more fragile than a mechanical device. Doesn't mean that they're any less sturdy. It just means they need to be cared for in a different way. So, well, awesome. Brandon, that's a great overview on the mid part of the drivetrain, focusing on the crankset, your bottom bracket, and your front derailleur. Guys, if you have any questions or if you feel that we missed something, please leave us a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. Also, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the ding-a-ling-a-ling button. So every time we post a new video, whether it's one of our trail videos or one of the toolbox topic videos, you'll receive a notification, and that way you'll always be in the loop. Brandon, thanks again for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
And you did pretty good this morning with that Run DMC. And we thought we were going to take a couple takes on that one, so I'm really happy with the way that one went. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's something to try to keep it fun. At the end of the day, we want these to be fun as well as informative. So, on that note, guys, there's going to be a link to Trek Bicycles West Phoenix in Goodyear, Arizona down below. If you have any additional questions or you want to go in and check it out and talk to the guys, follow that link. They'll be more than happy to help you out. Also, again, I will have links to SRAM, Shimano, and Campanello down below so you can check out those group sets. Again, thinking about upgrading, you can kind of see what they have to offer, maybe do some research on a specific group set to see if it's the one for you. On that note, guys, I got to say thank you so much for tuning in again. We love doing these videos for you. We love hearing from you down in the comments below. Remember to always be kind to yourself and others. Be amazing stewards on the trail. And we got to ask, what are you waiting for? Get out, Arizona. Guys, we'll see you on the next adventure. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us again.
Yes.
Take care, guys.
Bye.